I was raised as Baptist when I was a little girl, and we all went to Baptist church, and it was a lot of things taking place in the church that I didn't understand because I was a kid. During my journey, I moved around a lot. I went to many different churches, but I never could really learn what my calling was. And I ended up in Nashville. I had Bible studies with other pastors who are now in my Bible class. I've got 4 ministers that actually take my literature from 7-day. I befriended these pastors because I wanted them to help me decide where I fit in the church. You know, I had been praying about my calling. And I came to the Help Center one day after moving here from North Nashville from the tornado. I had been here maybe 3 times for assistance before I got that Bible study. But she gave it to me, I overlooked it, I read it, and I kept seeing the word Sabbath, Sabbath this, Sabbath that. And I'm like, wait a minute, I am 60 years old, and I have been in church since I was born. And none of these pastors had mentioned the word Sabbath to me. So that first Bible study, I took it home and I got on the telephone and we talked and we talked and we talked. And the more they told me that the word Sabbath was not important, the more interested it became to me. So I came back to Sister Karen, and she was getting ready to go out of state. And I wanted the second Bible study, but I ended up getting the whole book. And when I got home, I couldn't put it down. I don't know how many times I called her in New York with questions because I really wanted to know. But I knew that it was going to take time because all of the churches that I had been to, and they believe different things and different subjects, but yet we read the same Bible. It was very confusing, and I had to work on this because, I mean, there were certain things that I grew up with that I did not think I could let go. But I remember telling Sister Karen, if it's in the Bible, I won't argue about it. Let's just stick to the Word. The world is so full of confusion when it comes to God, and I know He didn't want me to be that way. You know, I just wanted to understand, and I had to pray whatever His plan was in my life, I wanted to know. And I have felt more comfortable attending the Seventh-day Adventist Church than I have in the last 50 years of my life. I'm a prayer warrior. I've always been. I've always prayed. And God has answered my prayers. And when I was going through domestic violence, and I was on the run with my children and my husband, we was going through divorce, but I was still married to him. He shot me in the back. I remember the sirens and people screaming, and I was laying in the street, and I don't remember speaking the words out loud like I'm speaking to you. I said, Father, it's okay if I die, but I'm just concerned. I'm worried about who's going to raise my children. I don't remember my mouth moving as I said those words, but I do remember His voice. I heard it just like I hear myself speak. And it was only 2 words. And that voice sounded like a great thunder, powerful but loving and very convincing. And He said, you are. And I just gave up to die. But I knew I wasn't gonna die. I knew I heard that voice. But I went unconscious, got in the ambulance. Weeks later, my sister said she followed the ambulance and they turned the lights out, and she told her husband, said, she is. And he said, no, she's not. Just keep driving. I was in intensive care. I recuperated from all of that. But it took a long, long time. And I knew I didn't know how long it was going to take, but I knew that I was going to come bouncing back from that because God had promised me, you are going to take care of your children. And I did. My oldest is 45. I've got 14 grandchildren, 3 great-grandchildren. He answers prayers. I found so many miracles taking place in this building. And I think God wanted me to see that. People with broken hearts and broken spirits come through that door for help. And they just, there's no other place for them to go. And then when they leave, a lot of them, I see smiles on their faces and they're hugging and shaking hands and thank you, and they really appreciate, the help center, because that's exactly what they get when they get in here. They do not be judged for the life that they have led and the mistakes and choices that they have made. Nobody judges them. And they feel at peace when they come here. When I came to the Help Center, we started our Bible studies, and a lot of my questions and my prayers that I had been praying was answered through those Bible studies. If we had not continued it, I probably wouldn't have got the answer that way. So the more my teacher used to say, if you want to make an A, hang out with A students. So if I wanted to be a powerful tool to help someone else, I had to hang out at the Help Center because this is where the God-like people were. I started coming to the Help Center to help out, and this place is where I've seen miracles, one right after the other, take place. Every time I would talk to somebody, it was like looking in the mirror because I had been there, and I just wanted to give back. And the only way I could give back was to bring them to Christ. I wanted to share my story with them because they are not alone. I've been there. A lot of women go through that. So when we went upstairs and looked at these books, there was boxes and boxes and boxes of literature. And so I asked Sister Karen, where did they come from? And I says, does Brother George mind? And she's like, no. We started taking out maybe like 12 or maybe 20. And they would go so fast. I started sharing them as I walked to and from different bus stops. So when I leave the towers, a lot of times in the morning, I have my little cart. I've packed it the night before. And I'll pray over that cart. And I'll say, now, Father, you know what's in the cart. You know I don't want to bring it home with me. So I pray that every hand and every door post, that it finds someone that is being drawn closer to you. And we hope to see them in the church on Sabbath soon. I don't care who they are. I don't care what color they are. I don't think that matters to God. The high rise that I live in, it's got 211 residents in it, and we had some empty apartments during that time. And then we had a case of beautiful magazines, and I was able to give every resident one of those magazines. Then I decided that went well, and it stirred up a lot of conversations. When everybody was getting the same magazine, they would talk to each other about what was in their door the next day. And so then I thought, well, that was pretty good. I think I'll go next door. And I did. And we got more and more magazines. And then all of a sudden, we got like 6 or 7 cases. And who and where they were coming from, I do not know, but I know it was God's plan. I had prayed to God, show me the plan that you have for me. How can I make a difference in your kingdom? Use me. Because I didn't want to feel like my whole life had been wasted because of all of that abuse. And I was, depressed. Even before I was a teenager, I was suicidal. And he never let me die. I knew there was a reason that he wanted me to be here. Once I gave everything up and I told my king that I would not look behind if I could move forward in his kingdom. And I haven't in that sense, but I go back to bring someone out with me. And all the books and magazines since December, I believe we have spread through Madison area. We've probably placed about 55, 100 magazines and little Bible tracts and Bibles. And God, He really is an awesome God. My name is Robin Douglas. This is my story. What's yours?